Hello, in this video, I'm going to explain how to read data from keyboard in a Java program. Let's go create a project. We'll call it as reading from keyboard. We create a new class for testing our code. We call it as program01 in a package called code.vinode.programs. We'll add a main method where we can test our code. Now system.out is something that represents a monitor, so anything that you print will be printed on the monitor or the console. Now if you go to the system.java, you can see that there are members of input stream in, print stream out, and print stream error or ERR. All of them are of static type. Hence, we can use them as system.in, system.out, or system.err. Now, since system.in is input stream, you can call the methods of the input stream class, such as read or read with a byte array or byte array with some integers to read the data from the keyboard. So let's go and explore this. So to do that, first I create a variable called int something like ch, and then I want to ask the user enter some data, something like enter your name. So let's go and give here enter your name. Now we can say here ch equals to system.in.read. Now this will read all the bytes entered by the user, but only assigns the very first one. Now also notice that there is an exception that says unhandled exception of type IO exception. That's because all the read functions throw IO exceptions. We either must handle it with a try catch, or we can throw it away from the Java program's main function to the JRE. So I would like to throw all exceptions, and then let's see, we can print it. When I enter or when I print this, input was and then ch, you will see that whatever I enter, you will get some number. So I execute my code, I'll enter my name as Vinod, and you will see you got 118. Now that's because the system.in.read blocks the input until the user presses enter key. Now, and once the user presses enter key, it starts reading 1 byte at a time and then assigns that 1 byte's number or ASCII value or Unicode value to this particular CH. So we should have given a char casted. So we are casting that CH to char and then print it. So now if I execute this and I type my name as Vinod, you can see it says input was V. However, I had to read multiple characters up to the end of the character or end of the line. Now the end of the line is where I pressed enter key, that is recognized by /r and /n. So I can now check if this is not equals to /r or /n, then continuously read that, which means I can now declare one, probably a string variable, to say name and assign it to a blank string, and then I can use this loop here to go through all of them. So I'm going to go use a while loop, and I say while ch equals to system.in.read, but it is not equals to /r, and that's the carriage return. As long as it is not equal to that, let's say name plus equals to character version of this ch, and once I come out, I'll print the name directly like this. So when I execute this, it will ask me what is the name. I'll enter my name is Vinod Kumar, and you can say it says input was Vinod Kumar. So I'm able to get the data from the keyboard as a complete one. But if you want to accept into many variables, then using a loop like this would be little bit cumbersome. So is there a solution or alternate? Yes. Now let's try to create a program to do the same thing. So we're going to go create a new program. And I'll also throw all exceptions. And then we'll say here string name and probably city. And then we will say we create an array of byte and we create an array of byte of, let's call it as bytes equals to new byte array of 100. Now this is because system.in.read also takes an array of bytes into which it can store all the bytes. Now how does this work? Now let's go first ask the user to enter the name. Now I can say here system.in.read and then I can type bytes. So at this time, it is going to block the execution until the user types something and presses enter. Once the user presses enter, all the bytes are going to be read, converted into a bytes and then spread across in these 100 bytes. Suppose if the user enters 5 characters, now the first 5 bytes in that will represent the ASCII values of those characters entered or the Unicode values, and the remaining 95 bytes will remain zeros because a byte generally contains zeros. So now I need to convert this into a string. So I can say here name equals to new string of bytes, but then it contains spaces for all the zeros. So I would like to trim this and use them. Similarly, I can use the same concept to accept the city. And then I type here system.in.read, once again bytes. I'm overwriting in that, and then I will say city equals to new string of bytes, and then I'll type dot trim, and then I can say here name equals to plus name, and then city equals to plus city. Now this, execute this, asks what's the name. I'll type Vinod Kumar and then Bangalore, and I'm able to get this. There might be a small problem when I execute this. Let's say I'll enter my name as Vinod and city as Bangalore, and in this case there is no error because we got the output correctly. Now let us see a better way of accepting from this keyboard. Now we'll create a new program, add a main, and we want to accept one complete line from the user. Now for this, we can use something called buffered reader. Let's call it as in. And in the buffered reader, there is a method called readLine, which can read a complete string. But buffered reader can also represent another input stream, but provided that is a reader. Whereas system.in is not a reader, it is an input stream. So we need to convert system.in into a stream. So that is a class called input stream reader. I'll call it as reader equals to new input stream reader of system.in. So the whole idea of this particular class is to convert an input stream into a reader. Now that I have a reader, I can say equals to new buffered reader of this reader object. Now once we have this reader object, we can now start asking from the user, enter a name or city, and straight away return the value accepted by in.readLine. So I give here enter name and enter city, and then I can probably accept here name or string name equals to in.readLine, and then string city equals to in.readLine, and then I can print here name equals to plus name and then city equals to city. So we also need to throw exceptions away, so we'll do that and execute the code and see the result. So I'll enter my name and city, and there you go. Java 5 introduced a class called scanner, which helps us reading the data from the keyboard in a much efficient manner. So let's try to demonstrate that. Scanner was introduced in Java 1.5 in the package util or java.util. So I can create a scanner object and specify different types of sources. One of them is an input stream, so I can supply system.in also. Once I got this, now scanner provides many functions to scan from the stream, such as next byte, next float, next double, next int, and similarly next line. So I can read a line or any other data without any problem. Now let us say, for example, I have here string name and int age, and I'll type name equals to, probably I want to ask the user enter your name and age. I'll say enter your name, and then I'll type here name equals to scanner dot next line. Now I got the complete line entered by the user into this variable. Then I type here enter your age, and then I'll type here age equals to scanner dot next int, because I want that to be converted into integer. Now if you are not using this but buffered reader provides only a read line, so you have to convert that string into an integer manually. Now here that is done automatically. Now if I print here name equals to plus name and age equals to plus age years. Now I execute this. We also may want to close the scanner. Execute. Enter your name. I'll enter my name Vinod Kumar. Age 41. When I press enter, it gives me the result. While using scanner, there are a couple of things you may have to keep in mind. Now let's explain that with an example. I'll add another variable here called city, and I want to accept from the user a city. So I'll paste here and I'll type enter your city, and I'll just type here city. Let's also print the same thing as what the user has entered. So I copy and paste this and make the changes. We'll execute this to see if we get the expected result. So when I execute it, it'll ask you what is the name. I'll enter Vinod Kumar, and then I enter 41. Now when I press enter, I'm expecting enter your city, but just see what happens. You can see that it did not accept city and it got terminated. And that is because when we entered here age as 41, we entered 41 and then /r/n, which is the end of line marker. So this is what we entered. Now scanner.nextInt will only read the 41 and assigns to this age, and the cursor or probably the internal pointer would be referencing to this particular place where /r/n is there. And as soon as you say enter city, that is printed over here, enter city, but it did not wait, because scanner.nextLine will start scanning from the current location till where there is a new line, and new line was found right there itself, and because of which it just converted that empty string into city and assigned. Now let's just try this once again, and I type here this time Vinod Kumar as first enter your name. I entered Vinod Kumar, and then I type this time 41 space, and then I'll type Bangalore, and then when I press enter, this time the value entered is 41 Bangalore, and after reading the 41, it's going to stay here, and then city will be read from this part, and that city will be Bangalore. As you can see, it has read that, including that additional space over there. Now to avoid this, there are a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you can actually say scanner.nextLine to skip the line. This will help us because it reads till the end of the line from 41, which is nothing, which is empty string, and then the buffer is clean and it's going to wait for the user to type in. So no problems. The other option is that instead of this, we can say scanner equals to new scanner of system.in, saying that we would like to discard the old scanner object and then use a new one. Now this probably may look a little bit odd, but this is one solution. and that works. Now, a better solution for all these would be to use a utility class. So let's create a utility class called keyboardUtil. So I'm going to go change the package to util and create a class called keyboardUtil. Now here we would write static functions. So we don't want an object of this keyboardUtil to be created. So we make the constructor as private so that the object of this class cannot be created. So we also write static function to return appropriate data type values. Now, as we expect, for example, I might write one public static string function, which is called getString. And then I probably ask the user to supply a message also so that we can print it. So we print the message and then we will say return. Of course, we need a scanner object referencing to our keyboard, which is system.in. And then we will say return scanner.next line. Now, this is our custom function which can accept a data from the user. Now, we'll also copy and paste, or in fact, we can also return or store this into a string and then scanner.close and then return the return value. We can make multiple copies of this function and change the data type to int and call it as getInt and then return an integer. So I need to say int and this is next int. So we have a function to accept an integer and a string and they are static. To make use of that, I'm going to create a class called program05, add a main method and I'll declare a couple of variables, name, city and int age. I'll ask the user to enter a name and I'll simply say keyboard util dot get string, enter your name and then I'll say age equals to keyboard util dot get int and then I'll supply enter your age. Similarly, I can also say city equals to keyboard util dot get string and then enter your city. We'll also print those things back using the previous program that we had. We'll copy this, paste over here. Now, as you can see, when I execute this, shouldn't be a problem. So we'll just use print instead of println. So we will be able to enter them in the same line. So we execute our code. So I'll enter my name Vinod. Let's see what is the exception here. It says no such element exception for scanner because I think the scanner has been closed and closing the scanner would close the input stream. So let's not do this. And when we execute our code, we should be able to see that we are entering values and then using them. So there you go. We created a utility class that can accept a message and return a data of appropriate data type.